Hey there, Conceptual Concept 6.9 here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. As you can see, snow is starting to stick to the ground up here in the mountains, and it's getting a tidbit nipply. So, the reason for my video today is I'm going over my top 5 foreign occupation shit hit the fan guns. So this is kind of a specific niche. Basic premise is that a foreign military has invaded the US and now you are behind enemy lines, basically foreign occupied territory, and the front lines are behind you. So how would you handle that? What guns would be efficient for taking on such a superior force? It's important to look historically at things like that. So you can go all the way back to the Revolutionary War, when we were fighting the Redcoats. There are some lessons to be learned there, as well as moving forward into the French Resistance. And you don't have to agree with it, but the IRA, what they did when they were fighting for their independence, as well as, God forbid, I don't like the Taliban. I think they're huge pieces of shit, but there's some lessons to be learned from how they handled U.S. troops and what was efficient there. It's important to take lessons away from your enemies and allies moving forward. So just because you don't agree with them doesn't mean you can't look at it and say, hey, that worked, right? So one thing you'll be noticing in all these guns for the most part is I am avoiding direct confrontation, because even in a larger group, let's say you have 20 guys, can you sustain the casualty rate of a traditional fighting? Can you afford to lose 5, 6, 10 guys? Chances are probably not. So your best route is typically going to be to either surprise the enemy, dump and run, do hit and run tactics like guerrilla tactics, or to be far enough away where either they have trouble locating you or you can pop a couple rounds and get off the X before they can fire and maneuver onto your location. So, that being said, let's get into it. Here are my top 5. All right, so the general purpose rifle is one thing you might want. This is an AK, it can be an AR, it can be whatever you want it to be. So remember, our job is to avoid direct conflict. So this guy is okay at taking fairly low probability shots out to about 500, as well as it can be used in more of a hit and run kind of tactic. So if you need to mag dump and get the fuck out, this can do it. Is it the best at either? No, but if you are only to have one gun for this kind of scenario, I feel like this probably fills the most niches, or close to the most, out of the entire group. So this is definitely on my top 5. It's probably not going to be the one I'm going to grab, but if you only have one, this is probably the better one to get. All right, so next on the list is the Concealable suppressed subsonic pistol. So this is my Beretta 21A. Great little pistol. It doesn't have to be a 22 like this guy. It could be a 32 ACP, a 380. Some of the more compact 9s would be good. 45 if you can find one small enough to conceal. But regardless, this is lessons learned from the French Resistance under Nazi-occupied France. So they didn't have a lot of weapons there. How they got most of their weapons is by something like this, something small that they could come up, they could off a German soldier and take his equipment. So that is where this is beneficial. And why I emphasize the suppressed subsonic bit is because ideally you don't want to get herd shooting. So you want to off them, you don't want them to even know that they're gone. And then you want to get the heck out with their equipment, or any target you need to take out. This will give you the best opportunity to escape, right? So that is on my list for that reason. All right, so next up on my list is a PDW sized gun, something very small. This is my MP5K. It could be a multitude of other guns, a SIG Rattler or something like that. But the entire idea of it is something that will give you decent firepower in a concealable nondescript package, right? So this laptop bag, a small backpack without molly. I know you tactical dudes love that. But something like that. This gives you a decent amount of firepower to be able to dump in and run, right? So that hit and run style tactic. Whether you agree or not with the IRA, we'll say they did some awful things, but that was something they were known for. And it's something that worked pretty well against an advanced military. So it's something to keep in mind. Gives you some firepower, gives you some options, also gives you the ability to get away and make yourself a little less obvious, right? All right, so now we're getting into the bread and butter. This is an SPR. I really think that distance is your friend in these kinds of scenarios, and this optimizes your distance. Really gives you a range of first round hits out to 600-700 yards reliably. Could probably push it out past that, but regardless, typically how I would define an SPR is something with a scope optimized for longer range first round hits, which this guy has. Where this is going to benefit you is range is your friend in these kinds of scenarios. It makes you harder to locate. If you can just shoot off a couple rounds and get the heck out, it's easier to get off the X and be away from the enemy before they're able to maneuver, get mortar fire on you, anything like that. This gives you that opportunity. Is it going to do as well as a 308? No. But where it is going to shine is if they do somehow maneuver close enough to be within small arms distance, you are able to return fire fairly quickly, reliably, and accurately with this, which hopefully will give you enough time to get off the X, get out. So this would be, if not my top pick, my second to top pick. All right, so lastly would be a long-range oriented rifle. It could be an AR-10 style rifle, but something to keep in mind is to get a precision AR-10 is very, very costly. Now, a quick solution to that is you could have Grandpappy's 30-06 Winchester Model 70, still be able to stretch that sucker out quite a bit. Now, in this case, I have a Remington 700 and 308, and it's suppressed. I'm pretty confident I can make hits out to 1,000 meters with this. It'll still have quite a bit of ass out there, which is where it beats out the SPR. It gives you that ability to get off the X. I do personally think in this kind of scenario that something like a SIG Cross or a Q Fix would be a better weapon. Something that's foldable and easy to kind of conceal. But this is what I have. And if you have Grandpappy's 30-06, that'll work too, man. So this is really where I think the skill of the modern Minuteman, especially if you're occupied by a foreign military, should really be emphasized. And I'm going to work on that more this next year. But this really gives you a lot more capability as an individual to really put the hurt on the enemy, because direct conflict, you're going to get clapped. I mean, you look at the invasion of Afghanistan and the invasion of Iraq, all the soldiers who were involved in that said, the stupid ones died first. The people who decided, oh, I'm just gonna mag dump at the soldiers, they died first. And if that's your plan, you're probably gonna die first too. So really explore different ways to not have direct contact with the enemy and still be able to take them out if you need to in this kind of scenario, if China's invaded or something like that. So that's pretty much all I have for you. Leave in the comments if I'm a dumbass, because I know I can be sometimes, or what your top 5 are. I'll probably post in some honorable mentions at the end, but these are my top 5. Let me know what you think, all right? Go ahead and post a comment down below. And this has been Conceptual Concepts 6.9 here, reminding you to go outside, touch grass, and eat ass, all right?